Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we are doing 3 episodes back to back. The first one is going to be covering Blood Bowl, then we'll be doing one about the new Kill Team, and then one about the new War Cry. So we're basically separating each video into each main intellectual property. All of these items were provided ahead of time by Games Workshop for the purpose of these videos, and their subsequent review that will be following. The reason why, with us looking at Blood Bowl at the moment, you can kind of see Kill Team right behind it. That's because I couldn't get these to stand up any other way than putting Kill Team behind it for support. So we'll go ahead and move that out of the way. So currently in pre-order, we'll be releasing this Saturday, is the new Blood Bowl set. For their rules, you do need the new issue of Spike magazine. You do need, well actually you don't need the pitch, but definitely helps with your theme. You do need the team, obviously, and you'll need your team cards as well. And then a set of dice, never hurt anybody. I love the look of these Khorne dice. Like I said, these were all provided by Games Workshop in advance for the purpose of this review. So let's go ahead and start opening these up. So I'm going to move all of these out of our way. First thing we're going to look at is the issue of Spike magazine. Now, I have never actually picked up a Spike magazine. Only because the teams that I've played all came in the core box. So, I've never had a need for it because everything was already there. So let's go ahead and take a quick look. Like right off the bat, I love the full color spreads. Very high quality. The thickness of the pages is a lot more than I honestly expected. I expected it to be more like an issue of White Dwarf as far as like the thickness of the pages and the cover, but this is much more sturdy. This feels more like a rule book type supplement. Like right here we have a star character. So we've got the rules for all the special star characters that you can get through Forge World. And it looks like, based on the fact that everything in here is about this Khorne team, and we actually have a little 2-page comic as well. Hazel, what are you doing? My cat is attacking a light right now. And actually, it's a 3-page comic, so definitely worth checking out. We do have some pictures of the star players as well. Now, the first 3 that are listed look like there are these characters as well, but you can basically give them the star player card to represent them if you didn't want to use just the generic cards. Now, I love the full color spreads. I love the detail that, like, it's not just the rules about like this star player. You have a lot of background in addition to that. So very cool stuff. Go ahead and open up the minis first, or next rather. And then, as always, make sure you're cutting away from yourself when using a knife. And of course, static electricity is making the plastic stick to my hands. So in here we're going to see, let's see, it looks like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different models. 2 turn and reroll markers, 4 ball, and then 2 double-sided Blood Bowl coins, where the head side has the Khorne symbol on it. So, pulling it out of the box, right away we do see that it is 2 identical sprues. Now, one thing I also see is that none of the bodies have the traditional kind of rectangle slot to go in the bases. So I am kind of disappointed that the bases you get are slotted, which means you're gonna have to use some green stuff or something else to fill those in before basing and painting your models. We do have a transfer sheet as well. So with the name of the type of model it is, so you can put it on the base, as well as the player number, so you could actually have them wearing their numbers, so that way it's easier to identify them. So that's actually pretty cool. I don't remember the core game coming with that kind of transfer sheet, so very cool. For the instructions, we do have our 2-page assembly instructions. Everything looks quite straightforward. Doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of customization available for the different sculpts, but I imagine with like a couple leg swaps, you might be able to get some different poses slightly and kind of make them look a little more unique. So definitely something I'm going to be trying there. And then we have just the generic or general Khorne team rules, so that way you can at least play them as is without having to get the cards. So looks like the cards are more of a personal preference than a requirement to play the team. Now, looking at the models, I love the token because like around the Khorne symbol, it's just full of skulls, which makes perfect sense because, you know, skulls for the Skull Throne. Now, I was expecting honestly to see some skulls, either, you know, at least more skulls rather, hanging from the players' belts or on their bases, or maybe like a smash skull that one of them was stepping on, something like that. But really, I only see one skull out of all of them, and that's on one of the shoulder pads, which obviously, because there's 2 identical sprues, would be 2 shoulder pads total. But those are literally the only skulls that I see. It looks like there's a total of 8 heads per sprue. So there's only 12 models, but 16 heads. So that means that you are going to have a couple left over. So you can try to make them as a little bit more unique and changing some of the heads around between different models just for that sake. Now, with the armor, like you can see, like on some of them, they've got the basic shape of the Khorne symbol, but not fully, because that's where you're going to put the numbers. But it definitely does have that kind of overall shape, and then the emblem is also on the front for some of them as well. The helmets are very Khorne for those that are wearing the helmets. But this is honestly a cool looking band. I really like the Minotaurs, or the Khorne Gores rather, that they have with it. So definitely a cool addition. I am looking forward to building these and giving them a try. Personally, I like the look of them a lot more than I did the Empire team with the most recent edition. But I honestly was expecting more skulls, at least with the models. But if you do have the skull kit, where you have a ton of skulls with it, you can at least add some of your own to make them really stand out. So I definitely will plan on doing that. Now we're going to go ahead and open up the cards. All right. Hello, kitten. Everybody, this is our kitten Hazel. Come here, kitty. There you go. All right. So the very first card we see is the how to use these cards. So basically lays out exactly what the cards are. We have 3-star player cards, 20 blank player cards, 4 reference cards, and then 16 special play cards. So with the reference cards, it's basically 1 for each player type. And then you have the blank cards, so that way you can actually write the name of your characters in your group. So that way, you know, as you play with them, as they continue, you have basically a what was the word I was looking for? So basically, you know, you actually will care more about, you know, the career of those players. We have the star player cards. Now, one card that actually surprises me is seeing Khorne the squirrel in here, where Khorne the squirrel, that card actually did come out in an issue of White Dwarf a few months ago. So seeing that in here as well, I was not expecting. And then we have our special play cards. One of them is Blood Crazed Frenzy. So like with timing, you play the card when a player on your team with the Frenzy skill knocks down an opposition player. The duration is discard immediately after use, and the effect, the player may immediately perform another block action against another opposition player they are marking. So basically allows you to do 2 blocks instead of 1. And then we have and stay down. So when again, when a player knocks down an opposition player, this player is not knocked down themselves. And then the duration is discard immediately, and the effect can immediately perform a foul action against the player that they just knocked down. And then we'll look at Bloodslick Ball. So at the start of the drive, discard at the end of the drive, and then while in play, opposition players suffer a -1 penalty when attempting to pass, and a -1 penalty to their AG when attempting to catch the ball. So basically, you're making it more difficult for the other team to use the ball. So definitely some handy cards there. And I do really like the thickness of the cards. You know, a thicker card means that it's going to be more durable. And then lastly, all right, so this is the first pitch set I've ever received that wasn't with the core box sets. So my understanding is that you have both the dugout and the actual game board to play on, so that way you can actually do matches basically on their home turf. Now I do see here that at least on one of the boards we do have a lot of skulls in place, so a lot more fitting for a cornfield. That was definitely unintentional. So basically a Khorne arena, as it were. Whoa. Okay, so we have our 2 boards, and you can rotate them for the dugouts, and they are definitely very Khornite. And what I like is that with them both having 2 sides, you can have one team do one side and the other team do the other. So that way it's less confusing. And then we have our board. So one side is primarily skulls with the Khorne symbol, and then this side still has quite a bit of skulls, but is basically the arena filled with blood. So, you know, like for those that play with their kids, oh no, sorry about that. Must have whacked that with the, all right, there we go. With the board when I was getting that out. So like I was saying, you know, if you're playing with younger kids, you know, this may not be the board you'd want to use just because of all the gore and the skulls and stuff. But at the same time, you know, this game is not meant for little children. So I definitely don't see any issues with them releasing a board like this whatsoever. But I do know that some of us like to get our kids playing when they're younger. So those that do may want to avoid this board at least until they're older. But I personally do love this board. So far, out of the ones that we've received in the actual core boxes, and this one is definitely my favorite, because I very much like the aesthetic of a Khorne team, and so with this it just fits more with what I like. So, and lastly, we're gonna go ahead and try to open up these dice. I've never actually received GW brand dice before, other than the ones that just come in a starter box. Let's see. Not really sure how to open this. There we go. All right, so I mean, once you get this open, it's going to be very obvious that it was open before. So you know, you won't see a lot of these getting returned because of that. But I do really love these dice. In place of the 6, you have the Khorne symbol. You have your D8, which all of them are, you know, kind of runic font for the numbers. Same with the D12. And then so you have our 3 standard dice, and then our kind of effect dice, the direction that it goes, or you know, a hit or things like that. Now, the thing I'm curious about most is they did say on the community site that these will tend to roll better than other dice would. So we're just gonna give it a couple rolls and see, you know, how many times the 6 comes up. And so actually, so it's only two D6s. Accidentally grabbed one of the other directional dice. So out of 2 rolls, we had 1 6. Out of 4 rolls, 2 6s. 5 rolls, 3 6s. So, 4 6s total out of about 8 different rolls. So about 50% of the time, a 6 is coming up, at least for me. But you know, that is kind of how the dice go. Sometimes it is very random. You know, I saw 1s. I saw actually the only number I didn't see come up when I was rolling was the 2. But otherwise, every other number came up at least once. And one of those rolls was actually 2 1s at the same time. So definitely makes me curious about that claim that they had in Warhammer Community. But we're going to take some regular dice from the Blood Bowl starter and these dice, and then basically roll them in comparison and do some of the math to figure out how often these statistically were coming up as 6s versus when those were. So that way we can kind of get an idea if the claim is true. Personally, I think that it's not going to be anything in the dice that makes them roll better. It's just thematically. They do say that if you have matching dice, you're going to roll better. And I'm assuming that's all it is, that they're not doing anything to rig the dice. But you never know. So we're going to let the math decide, if that claim is accurate or not. So definitely something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to trying that out more and seeing what we come up with. But as far as this episode goes, that is it. We're going to be getting ready to film the next episode, which is going to be Kill Team Chalnath, and going over that in just a little bit. I wanted to say thank you to Games Workshop for supplying all these items for us. Now, as always, even though they did supply it, it guarantees we will talk about it, but does not guarantee our opinion, which, as you see, if you were paying attention, I did have a couple things that I did not like about this box set for the minis, but as always, you're going to get my honest feedback, regardless of if I had to pay for this myself or if they sent it to me. So either way, that's it for this episode. I will catch you guys all next time, and thank you as always for watching.